Hi, I'm here with Dawn today. Dawn, tell me your name.
My name is Dawn Hoffman.
And where are you from, Dawn?
I am from Phoenix, Arizona.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm an occupational therapist, but I live in Romania now.
And what brought you to Romania?
Um, I've been coming back and forth to Romania for the last 23 years, and I've been living here full time the last 8. And I came here because I knew that there was a need to help with children with disabilities in this country.
So is that your full-time job here?
Yes. Well, I also work with our church in women's ministry and with children's ministry.
And what have you learned, or how is Romania different doing occupational therapy here than in the U.S.?
Well, occupational therapy is an emerging practice in this country, and so you don't really have occupational therapists. And so, of course, that makes it very different because I'm working alongside more psychologists and families here in Romania versus doing direct therapy as I would in the U.S.
And so do you work in hospitals or in clinics? Or?
So here in Romania, I have partnered with several different therapy centers and clinics. I've helped in various hospitals in Oradea as well as in other cities. But mainly I see children in my home with their families. So I try to do more family-based therapy so that we can have better carryover for the children.
And then for a long period of time? Or?
Yes. So I've had many of my children I've had for years. If they're children who can then be discharged, then I continue just to help as I can. But most of my children have long-term needs. Yes.
And now to the big elephant in the room. How did you get involved with Ukraine and all the orphans from Ukraine?
Well, actually, I'm working more with children who are coming with a parent from the Ukraine. So I'm not working with orphans. And my church here, BBSO, from the very beginning was very involved with the crisis that was happening with Ukrainians coming over. And over time, we started to have families with children with disabilities arriving. And now we're really focusing on that. And so it just made natural sense that if children with disabilities were coming over, that I would be more involved.
Do you have a story that comes to mind that you can think of?
I have a few. I have, in one of the first weeks, there were 2 sets of twins. And one set of twins, they were 2 boys. They were 12 years old. 14 years old, and then another set that they were 16-year-old twins. In both cases, one of the twins was more involved than the other. But I just went over, I brought toys, I tried to give them activities to do to allow them to have some joy, because they were coming here imagining that they didn't have one toy with them. And so I would sit down and I would play with them. And so at the end of my first day, one of the twin boys came and he brought me a little lipstick because he wanted to say thank you. They didn't have anything, but they still wanted to give me this little tiny lipstick. And then with the other family, the other boy, I became very close with a 16-year-old who is nonverbal. His name is Dima, but I felt like I could communicate with Dima. It was so easy for me to communicate with Dima, and we enjoyed each other so much. And I was able to give his mom just enough time to breathe. And on their last day before they transitioned to Germany, I stayed with him so she could take a shower and to pack. And their bags were just plastic bags. They didn't have a suitcase or anything, but it gave her those moments to just be able to gather the small things that they had and prepare for their next journey to Germany. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so touching.
Yeah.
What do you see the need, I guess, immediate need, especially with these Ukrainian kids that are coming over?
I think the biggest need is for while they're here in Romania is to know that they are safe. For children with disabilities, having these quick transitions is really difficult. So even for a typical person to come from Ukraine and then to arrive in Romania and then 24 to 48 hours again to leave on another long journey, it's challenging and it's hard for any of us to imagine. But when you have a child with disabilities who has medical needs, who has physical needs, it's very challenging. But for our children, for example, with autism, every transition that we're causing on them creates much more stress for them. So helping them to feel safe and secure. And then secondly, if not more importantly, it's that we would be able to develop a better network of where we are then transitioning these families to.
And do you expect that some of these children will come back through here, heading back to Ukraine?
Oh, I think some of them would desire to do that just because they know that they are so loved here. I would love, as they go back to the Ukraine, for them to stop and to visit. I pray that this war will end and that they can go back to Ukraine, but I hope that. I don't think that will happen for all of them. For some of the children, we are really trying to look at how we can help some of the families even to stay here in Romania, because for them to be closer to Ukraine is more desirable, especially when you have children with more physical disabilities.
And do you think you will continue to work with Ukrainian children even after the war is over, or go to Ukraine itself?
Definitely. Definitely, because especially if some of these families who I've connected to, if they transition back, I would love to go and help them in their own communities and to just to work alongside some of the Ukrainians that I think I could really help to empower, to help these families to help their children to have the best quality of life. So absolutely, I would love to go into the Ukraine once this is all over.
And do you also find that besides the immediate help, training the staff and training other people is a useful thing here?
Yes, and so I'm doing that here. That is a huge passion. I'm here primarily working with children with disabilities who are Romanian. And so my focus and passion has always been on equipping and teaching, as I said, the psychologists and the teachers, but more importantly, the families, including the siblings, the grandparents. I think that the education is the key, because I'm one person. I can do so much, but when I can empower a parent to be able to then implement those strategies, a child has so much better success.
Well, Dawn, thank you so much.
You're
been
welcome.
amazing to sit here for a second with you.
You're welcome.
And hope
Thank
to talk
you.
to you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.